The night my brother disappeared, his phone sent my wife a picture of our living room wall. It was just drywall, a blank beige expanse that we'd been meaning to paint over for years. But the timestamp was 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, about 4 hours after he'd texted me from the highway saying his car had run out of gas near the old Claiborne farm. The photo was lit with a flash, so the wall looked pale and washed out, like a photograph of a crime scene where nothing had happened yet. Ethan and I grew up in a small Pennsylvania town called Millbrook, a place where the biggest scandal in the last decade was a dispute over a zoning variance for a new Dollar General. Everyone knew everyone, and when I say my brother went missing, I mean he vanished so completely that even the state police couldn't find a single trace of him outside of that photograph. The car was found 3 days later parked neatly on the shoulder of Route 17, doors locked, keys in the ignition, gas tank bone dry. His wallet was on the passenger seat. His phone was not. I was the one who had to identify the car. My wife, Hannah, waited in the cruiser while I walked past the yellow tape with a trooper who smelled like coffee and stale cigarette smoke. I remember the way the morning light hit the windshield, casting a greenish tint on the empty interior. There was a half-empty bottle of water on the floor mat. A receipt from a Sheetz gas station dated the night before he went silent. The receipt showed he'd bought a coffee and a bag of chips at 10:47 p.m. After that, nothing. No calls, no texts, no credit card swipes. Just a 12-mile stretch of back road that bordered state game lands and the kind of thick, old-growth woods that don't feel like Pennsylvania so much as a forgotten pocket of the world. The FBI got involved after the first week. They pulled phone records, GPS data, satellite imagery. They interviewed every person who lived within a 5-mile radius of that stretch of road. And this is where the story gets strange. 4 different people reported seeing a woman on the side of the road that night, around 11:30 p.m. All 4 described her the same way, elderly, maybe late 70s, wearing a housecoat and slippers, holding a lantern. They all said she was just standing there, not hitchhiking, not flagging anyone down, just standing perfectly still, staring into the headlights of any car that approached. One witness, a truck driver named Dale, said he slowed down to ask if she needed help, and when she turned to look at him, her face was a perfect blank, like a mask with no expression underneath. He sped off. The police never found an elderly woman matching that description. No missing person reports. No nursing homes in the area. No confirmation she ever existed. I didn't know about the woman until 2 weeks into the search. Hannah couldn't sleep most nights, so she'd started digging through local Facebook groups and community forums, looking for anyone who might have seen something. She found a post from a woman named Patricia Ackerman, who lived about a mile from where Ethan's car was found. Patricia had written a long, rambling comment under a missing person post that the county sheriff had shared. "I saw her too, the woman with the lantern. She's been out there every night for the past 3 months, I swear. My husband says I'm imagining it, but I'm not. She walks the road between our house and the old Claiborne place. She never goes anywhere else." I called Patricia the next morning. She sounded old, her voice thin and reedy like air escaping a balloon. She told me she'd lived on that road for 42 years. She'd never seen the woman before this summer. She started appearing around June, always after midnight, always holding a kerosene lantern that gave off a warm orange glow. Patricia said she'd tried to take a photo of her once, but when she looked through her phone screen, the woman wasn't there. Just the road, the trees, the dark. I drove out to her house the following Saturday. I told myself it was because I needed to do something, anything, to feel like I wasn't just sitting around waiting for news that never came. The truth is, I was obsessed. I couldn't stop thinking about that photograph on Ethan's phone, the identical wall I was staring at in my own living room. How did he take a picture of our wall from 12 miles away? Why would he take a picture of a wall at all? Patricia's house was a faded white farmhouse with a wraparound porch and a yard full of wind chimes that clattered and sang in the early autumn breeze. She offered me iced tea, and we sat on her porch swing while she pointed toward the bend in the road where she'd seen the woman. She said the woman moved slowly, deliberately, like she was walking through water. She never made eye contact. She never acknowledged the cars that passed. I asked Patricia if she'd ever tried to talk to her. "Once," she said, "about 2 weeks ago." I walked out to the road with a flashlight. I got about 20 feet from her and I called out, "Hello, are you lost?" And she turned her head, not her body, just her head, and she looked at me. And then she said, "I'm not lost, I'm waiting." Waiting for what? I asked. She didn't say, she just turned back around and kept walking. I went inside and locked every door. I haven't gone out after dark since. I stayed until the sun started to set, and then I drove home trying not to think about what I was going to do next. But I already knew. I'd brought a flashlight, a portable battery pack for my phone, and a digital voice recorder. I parked my car at the end of Patricia's driveway and waited. The road was dead quiet. No traffic. No wind. The moon was a thin crescent, barely enough light to see the outlines of the trees. I sat for 2 hours watching the bend, watching the dark. And then at 1:47 a.m. by my dashboard clock, I saw it, a small glow, distant and warm, moving slowly along the tree line. I got out of the car. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I left my headlights on, pointing down the road, and I started walking. The gravel crunched under my boots. The air smelled like damp leaves and something else, something metallic like copper. The woman came into focus as I got closer. She was exactly as Patricia described. Old white hair pulled back in a loose bun, a floral housecoat that hung past her knees, slippers that looked too thin for the gravel. The lantern swung gently from her hand, casting long, flickering shadows across the road. I stopped about 30 feet from her. She didn't stop. She kept walking, her pace steady and hypnotic like a metronome. "Hello," I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. She stopped. Her footsteps ceased. The only sound was the soft hiss of the kerosene lantern. She turned her head, just her head. The rest of her body faced forward, rigid and still, but her neck twisted until her face was pointed directly at me. Her eyes were pale blue, nearly white in the lantern light. There were no wrinkles, no expression. Her face looked like it had been smoothed over, like someone had taken sandpaper to all the edges. "Are you lost?" I asked. She didn't answer, she just stared. And then she smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm not lost," she said. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "I'm waiting." "Waiting for what?" She tilted her head. The motion was too smooth, too fluid, like a recording being played at the wrong speed. "For your brother." My blood turned cold. I felt it, a physical sensation, like someone had poured ice water directly into my veins. "Where is he?" She raised her free hand and pointed past me down the road toward the stretch where Ethan's car had been found. "He's waiting too," she said. I didn't run. I don't know why I should have run. But I stood there, frozen, watching her turn back around and continue her slow, methodical walk up the road. She passed under my headlights, and for just a second the bright white light fell on her full figure, and I saw that she had no shadow. The lantern should have cast a long, distorted shadow behind her. The car headlights should have thrown her shape across the pavement, but there was nothing. She walked through the light like she wasn't really there. I got back in my car and drove straight home. I didn't tell Hannah what I'd done. I didn't call the police. I spent the night sitting in my living room, staring at that same beige wall, trying to understand. The next morning, I checked Ethan's phone records again. There was one more detail I'd missed. The night he disappeared, his phone made contact with a cell tower that shouldn't exist, a tower that wasn't in any database, that didn't appear on any map. The signal came from a location about 2 miles into the state game lands, deep in the woods. The coordinates pointed to an area that satellite imagery showed as nothing but dense canopy. I drove out there the next afternoon. I parked at the end of a logging road and hiked in with a GPS unit and a compass. The woods were thick, the underbrush tangled, and after about 40 minutes I came to a clearing I hadn't expected. It was a house. No, not a house, the remnants of a house. A foundation crumbling and overgrown, a stone chimney still standing, mossy and dark. And on the ground, scattered among the fallen leaves, were objects that didn't belong. A child's shoe, a rusted lantern, a faded photograph of a woman in a floral dress, her face blurred beyond recognition. And on the front step, half buried in dirt and dead leaves, was a phone, Ethan's phone. I recognized the case, a cheap black OtterBox with a crack in the corner from when he dropped it in the driveway last Christmas. I picked it up. The screen was shattered, but it still turned on. The battery was at 3%. The wallpaper was still the photo of his dog, a golden retriever named Gus. I opened the camera roll. There were hundreds of photos, all of them of walls, different rooms, different houses, each one titled with a date and a set of GPS coordinates. The most recent was dated the night he disappeared, a photo of our living room wall taken from inside that house. And there was one more, taken at 3:01 a.m. that same night. It showed a window from the inside looking out. Through the glass, I could see a figure standing in the dark holding a lantern. The figure was me. I could see my own face, pale and hollow-eyed, staring back from the glass. I was wearing the same clothes I'd worn that night. I was holding my phone. I was taking a picture of the house from the outside. But I never went to that house. I'd never seen it before in my life. I'm still looking at that photo. I can't stop. The battery on Ethan's phone died about an hour ago, but I already transferred the images to my laptop. I've zoomed in on my face 100 times, trying to find something, anything that proves it's not me. But it is, and I don't remember. I don't remember driving out there. I don't remember taking the photo. I don't remember seeing the woman or the house or my brother's car, but I must have, because there's another picture, taken a few minutes later. It shows a door, the front door of the house, standing open. And through the doorway, I can see the silhouette of a man standing in the dark, his back to the camera. It's wearing Ethan's jacket. I've called that number 14 times. It goes straight to voicemail. The message is just static, but if I listen closely, I can hear something under it. A voice, low and rhythmic, repeating the same phrase over and over. I'm not lost, I'm waiting. I don't know who's saying it. I don't know where it's coming from. But last night I heard it in my own living room. It came from inside the wall.